The Texas sun was gradually disappearing behind the evening clouds, leaving scattered rays of light over the deserted road outside Amarillo. A gentle breeze carried fine dust across the landscape, painting a characteristic sunset portrait of this land. Amidst the stillness, a small diner humbly stood by the roadside. Its flickering neon sign reading Rose's Diner glowed faintly, like a solitary lighthouse in the vast desert. It was the kind of place you might easily overlook unless you were paying attention, a familiar stop for locals and weary travelers alike. The diner's red brick walls bore the marks of time, telling stories of 3 decades weathering Texas sandstorms and scorching heat. Its clean windows reflected the golden hues of the sunset, casting curious shadows across the cracked parking lot. A few old pickup trucks were scattered across the lot, their dusty exteriors suggesting their owners had been there for some time. Inside, the atmosphere was warm and inviting. The aroma of bacon and maple syrup blended with the rich scent of coffee and freshly baked goods. The low hum of conversations created a soothing symphony of everyday life. It was a simple yet cozy space where people could set aside their worries and enjoy a hearty meal. Behind the counter stood Rose, the 60-year-old owner, with her familiar, kind smile. Over the years, she had witnessed countless stories unfold in her diner. Meetings and farewells, moments of joy and sorrow. Her sharp eyes behind a pair of reading glasses missed nothing, from the smallest gestures of her regular patrons to subtle shifts in the diner's atmosphere. On the checkered red and white tablecloths, steaming cups of coffee sat next to golden waffles and hearty dinner plates. In the far right corner, the Anderson family, local farmers, huddled around a table, chatting about the upcoming harvest. At the counter, Joe, a long-haul truck driver, sipped his coffee, his tired eyes fixed on the evening news playing on the wall-mounted TV. Suddenly, the quiet atmosphere was interrupted by the soft hum of an electric motor. Through the large windows, everyone could see a sleek silver Cybertruck with its distinctive angular design slowly pulling into the parking lot. The futuristic vehicle stood out sharply against the old dusty trucks, like something from the future dropped into the past. A murmur rippled through the diner. Not everyone recognized the vehicle, but it was clear this wasn't the kind of car often seen in the area. Elon Musk stepped out, exuding a casual demeanor, without bodyguards or an entourage. His outfit was surprisingly simple: faded jeans, a black Tesla t-shirt, and a signature red MAGA hat. The hat wasn't a political statement, but a gift from a recent tech conference, now serving as a shield against the harsh Texas sun. As Elon walked into the diner, the familiar chime of the doorbell rang out, a sound that had echoed thousands of times a day in the small establishment. Yet this time, it seemed to signal something different. Rose, the diner's owner, glanced up from wiping the counter. Her keen eyes immediately recognized the notable guest, but with years of experience, she simply nodded politely, as she would to any other patron. The atmosphere in the diner paused for a moment. A few diners recognized Elon, but most glanced briefly before returning to their meals. This was the Texas way, respecting people's privacy, even when one of the world's wealthiest men walked through the door. Elon chose a discreet corner of the diner, a spot favored by those who preferred to observe unnoticed. The old oak table bore scratches that told stories of countless conversations over the years. He leaned back against the cool brick wall, savoring the comforting contrast to the hours spent in the air-conditioned cabin of the Cybertruck. Sarah, a young waitress with fiery red hair tied up high in a faded green apron, approached with her familiar order pad. Her sharp blue eyes scanned Elon's face with the practiced indifference of someone who had served all types of customers during her 5 years at the diner. "What'll it be?" she asked, her tone light yet professional. "A black coffee and waffles with maple syrup," Elon replied, his eyes glancing over the frayed menu. Sarah nodded, jotting down the order with her wooden pencil before turning away without a word. To her, he was just another patron among the hundreds she served daily, and that was precisely what Elon seemed to desire. A moment of normalcy amidst an extraordinary life. The roar of Harley-Davidson engines suddenly shattered the stillness outside, drawing the curious gaze of several diners. The unmistakable sound of large motorcycles gradually faded, replaced by the chime of the door as a group of 6 bikers entered. For a brief moment, the diner's air seemed to freeze. They embodied the untamed freedom of Texas roads. 6 men with thick beards, dusty black leather jackets, and patches that narrated tales of countless miles traveled. The heavy thuds of their leather boots hitting the tiled floor created a rhythm as if they owned the space. The scent of leather, gasoline, and the open road mingled with the warm, familiar aroma of the diner. The leader, Bull, a broad-shouldered man with razor-sharp eyes, paused just past the doorway, his gaze sweeping across the diner with the practiced ease of someone accustomed to assessing situations. Behind him, the other 5 bikers formed a loose semicircle, creating a tableau straight out of a Western film. Snake, the leanest of the group, with a scar running down his left cheek, let out a low whistle as he caught sight of the Cybertruck through the window. "Well, Bull, looks like we've got ourselves some high-class company," he drawled in a distinctive Southern accent. The group chuckled softly, but it wasn't the kind of laughter that brought comfort. It carried a sense of impending tension. Rose, the diner's owner, immediately sensed the shift in the atmosphere. Setting her towel down, she kept her eyes fixed on the newcomers. Years of running this establishment had taught her to read situations, and every instinct was now on high alert. Joe, the truck driver seated at the bar, subtly shifted, his right hand instinctively brushing his waistband, where he usually carried a firearm on his late-night hauls. The Anderson family quietly focused on their plates, trying to avoid drawing attention. Behind the counter, Sarah stood motionless, the coffee pot still in her hand, waiting to see how things would unfold. From his corner booth, Elon calmly sipped his coffee. Years of navigating the cutthroat world of business had given him a remarkable ability to remain composed under pressure. Still, he couldn't ignore the fact that his red MAGA hat was drawing less than friendly glances from the newcomers. Bull stopped in front of Elon's table, close enough to assert his presence, yet maintaining a calculated distance. His stance exuded the confidence of someone used to dominating interactions. The scent of leather from his jacket mingled with gasoline and road dust, a distinct aroma of those who live their lives on the open road. "Looks like someone wandered off from Hollywood," Bull said, his mocking tone slicing through the tense air like a sharp blade. The quiet chuckles of the other bikers followed, rolling through the room like gravel skittering across hot asphalt. Elon looked up from his coffee, his expression strangely calm. "Hollywood?" he repeated, his voice carrying a hint of genuine curiosity. "Not quite." Snake, the biker with the long scar on his left cheek, smirked as he stepped up beside Bull. "You sure about that? Because from where I'm standing, you look exactly like one of those California guys, thinking you can roll in here with your fancy electric car and that red hat like this is some kind of joke." Sarah, the young waitress, remained frozen by the counter, the coffee pot in her hand now cold. In her 5 years working there, she'd seen plenty of situations, but none with a tension this thick. Rose, the owner, subtly shook her head when Joe, the trucker, shifted like he was about to intervene. Bull pulled a chair from a nearby table, the legs scraping loudly against the wooden floor. He sat down across from Elon, his posture that of a judge ready to deliver a verdict. "Listen here, pal," Bull said, his voice dropping low. "Around here, we've got some unspoken rules. One of them is not tolerating anyone coming in to mock us." Elon set his coffee cup down with deliberate control. "I'm not here to mock anyone," he replied, his tone steady. "I just came here for waffles and coffee, and I have to say, both are excellent." Hawk, a large biker with an eagle tattooed on his neck, burst into laughter. "Listen to this, guys. This fella's got jokes." His laughter echoed through the diner, but no one else joined in. The air only grew heavier. "That hat," Bull pointed to the MAGA cap on Elon's head. "What kind of message are you trying to send? Or is it just another one of those clever jokes from people like you?" Elon reached up and lightly touched the brim of his hat, a gesture that seemed thoughtful. "Sometimes a hat is just a hat," he said. "It was a gift from a friend, and today it's been quite good at keeping the sun off my face." "Shade from the sun?" Snake cut in sharply. "You think we're stupid enough to believe that? Around here, everything carries meaning, especially things like that." The Anderson family quietly paid their bill and left, their worried glances not missed by Rose. She knew how quickly situations like this could spiral out of control. In her 30 years running the diner, She had learned that even the smallest spark could ignite a much larger explosion. "You're right," Elon spoke up unexpectedly, his tone calm but firm. "Everything does have meaning, but sometimes we're too quick to assign our own meanings to someone else's things." He paused, meeting Bull's gaze directly. "I'm curious, what does this hat say to you?" The question hung in the air, a subtle yet clear challenge. Bull leaned forward, his elbows resting on the table, his eyes drilling into Elon's as though trying to uncover the truth behind his composure. "It says you're either naive or looking for trouble," Bull replied slowly, emphasizing each word. "And I don't think you're the naive type." Sarah, still standing behind the counter, began moving glasses away from the tense area, an unconscious action born from years of experience. Joe tightened his grip around his coffee cup, his muscles flexing beneath the faded fabric of his trucker shirt. "Interesting," Elon responded, his expression like that of an anthropologist studying a unique cultural phenomenon. "So, we're talking about assumptions, about how we view others through the lens of our own perspectives. Who do you think I am, Bull?" Bull placed his large calloused hands on the table, the rough edges of his knuckles telling a story of a hard life. "All right," he said, his tone still rigid, but slightly less confrontational. "Let's talk about that factory of yours. What do you think a place like that can do for people like us?" Elon slid his waffle plate aside, his gaze moving over each face in the group. In the twilight streaming through the windows, he could see the wrinkles, the scars, and the untold stories etched onto their features. "You know what makes Tesla different?" Elon asked, not waiting for an answer. "It's not the technology or the money, it's the people. People willing to work with their hands. People who understand the value of creating something real." Snake crossed his arms, the scar on his cheek wrinkling as he frowned. "Sounds good, but we've heard plenty of empty promises from guys like you." "It's not a promise," Elon shook his head. "It's an invitation. I want to invite you to visit our facility, not to sell you anything, not to convince you, just so you can see for yourselves what we're working on." Rose, from behind the counter, paused her glass cleaning to listen. In her 30 years of experience, this was the first time she had seen a confrontation take such a turn. Hawk laughed, his voice echoing through the diner. "You're inviting a group of bikers to tour the Tesla factory? This has got to be a joke." "No," Elon replied, his face entirely serious. "This is how I work. I believe that to understand each other, sometimes we need to step out of our comfort zones." Bull stared at Elon, as if trying to decipher his true intentions. "And if we say no?" "That's your choice," Elon shrugged, "but I think you'll regret missing this opportunity. Not because of Tesla, but because it might be a chance to break down unnecessary barriers between people." Sarah, still nearby, couldn't help but notice the shift in Bull's tone, from hostile to inquisitive, now tinged with a hint of curiosity. Joe, the trucker, had also loosened his grip on his coffee cup. "Guys, give me a minute," Bull said to his crew, his eyes still fixed on Elon. The other 5 bikers huddled by the window, their hushed conversation blending with the soft hum of the ceiling fan above. While waiting, Elon cut another piece of waffle, his movements unhurried, as if this were just an ordinary lunch. Rose approached, refilling his coffee cup with a subtle look of approval in her seasoned gaze. Snake crossed his arms, the scar on his cheek wrinkling as he frowned. "Sounds good, but we've heard plenty of empty promises from guys like you." "It's not a promise," Elon shook his head. "It's an invitation. I want to invite you to visit our facility, not to sell you anything, not to convince you, just so you can see for yourselves what we're working on." Rose, from behind the counter, paused her glass cleaning to listen. In her 30 years of experience, this was the first time she had seen a confrontation take such a turn. Hawk laughed, his voice echoing through the diner. "You're inviting a group of bikers to tour the Tesla factory? This has got to be a joke." "No," Elon replied, his face entirely serious. "This is how I work. I believe that to understand each other, sometimes we need to step out of our comfort zones." Bull stared at Elon, as if trying to decipher his true intentions. "And if we say no?" "That's your choice," Elon shrugged. "But I think you'll regret missing this opportunity. Not because of Tesla, but because it might be a chance to break down unnecessary barriers between people." Sarah, still nearby, couldn't help but notice the shift in Bull's tone, from hostile to inquisitive, now tinged with a hint of curiosity. Joe, the trucker, had also loosened his grip on his coffee cup. "Guys, give me a minute," Bull said to his crew, his eyes still fixed on Elon. The other 5 bikers huddled by the window, their hushed conversation blending with the soft hum of the ceiling fan above. While waiting, Elon cut another piece of waffle, his movements unhurried, as if this were just an ordinary lunch. Rose approached, refilling his coffee cup with a subtle look of approval in her seasoned gaze. First, Elon pointed to the robotic assembly line. "This is where we birth our cars. Each robot here can perform hundreds of tasks with millimeter-level precision." Bull watched the robotic arms moving in a complex, synchronized dance. "So what do people do? Just stand around and watch the machines work?" "No," Elon shook his head, leading them to another section. "Humans are the heart of everything. Robots can handle repetitive tasks, but they can't make decisions, solve unexpected problems, or innovate processes." Snake observed a group of technicians working on electronic circuit boards. "But this kind of work needs specialized knowledge. Not everyone can do it." "Yes and no," Elon replied. "We have our own training programs. Many of our best employees come from diverse backgrounds: mechanics, welders, even former bikers." Bull stopped in his tracks, turning to Elon. "What are you trying to say?" "I'm talking about opportunity," Elon said plainly, "about breaking down unnecessary barriers. People often think Tesla is only for MIT or Stanford graduates, but in reality, we need people who understand machinery, who aren't afraid to get their hands dirty, and who are willing to learn." They stopped in front of the battery testing area, where technicians were working on large battery packs. "This is the future," Elon explained, "not just for cars, but for homes, factories, even entire cities. And we need people who know how to build, repair, and improve these systems." Hawk stroked his thick beard. "Sounds good. But why Texas? Why not California?" "Because this is where the real workers are," Elon replied, "where people still value the dignity of hard labor. It's a place where folks are willing to sweat to build a better future." As the Texas sunset painted the sky, our story drew to a close. But this wasn't just a tale of a chance encounter between a tech billionaire and a group of bikers. It's a story about understanding, breaking down prejudices, and finding common ground even in the most unexpected situations. Dear friends, this story reminds us that the greatest differences are often just misunderstandings waiting to be resolved. In an increasingly polarized world, what we need isn't more confrontation, but more honest conversations. What do you think about this story? Have you ever experienced a moment where your initial assumptions about someone completely changed after genuinely talking to them? Share your stories in the comments below. If you found this story meaningful, don't hesitate to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so you won't miss more inspiring stories like this one. Every share from you encourages us to continue bringing meaningful content. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Remember, sometimes the most unexpected encounters bring the most valuable lessons. See you again in the next story.